Hello, bonjour, hello, hi, heya, and privyet, hockey fans. Welcome back to the Europuck podcast, the show where two Brits talk all things European hockey as part of the Hockey Podcast Network. My name is Hayden, or Odd Man Rush, as you can see right up there, and joining me, of course, once again, to the surprise of probably literally nobody that's been listening to the show for the last month or so, it's Chris Gadsby. Hey, Chris.
Hello, good afternoon.
How you doing today? You doing all right?
Yes, not bad. Not too bad. Got a lot of hockey to talk about.
Yes.
This week. So we should probably crack on before too long. But doing well today. Work carrying on as always. Been doing work, shopping, prep for my next commentary, all that sort of thing. So all good fun.
Well, I mean, just a normal week in the life of Chris Gadsby, It's chill.
Basically.
Just got to do what you got to do, right? No crazy bathroom stories you got to tell us this week, or no?
No, because it's finished.
Good.
It's all done. So.
Are you happy with it?
Yeah.
Good.
We just got to wait. Tomorrow morning, the roof guy is coming to put the thing in the roof that we need, which means that we're able to actually have the light on.
Well, that's good. I would be very happy about that.
The light is linked to the fan, but until the pipe is connected on the roof, all the steam just ends up in the loft, which won't do the wood any good. So
I see. Right.
You kind of have to shower with the light off.
Which, first thing in the morning, not too bad. Like right in the middle of the night, is not a good idea. So
yeah, not so good.
So a lesson for you, everyone: if you're going to go pee in the middle of the night, make sure you got a bathroom that has a light. Wise words here on the Europuck podcast. Today is Tuesday, the 29th of September. Before we kick off with everything, just want to say a massive congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning last night, clinching the 2020 Stanley Cup Championship. They won 2-0 against Dallas in Game 6 of the finals, and there's 8 Europeans, as far as I'm aware, that have had their name etched on the Stanley Cup, pretty much all of them for the very first time as well. The main guys, of course, being Nikita Kucherov, Andrei Vasilevsky, the two Russians, and also the Swede and Conn Smythe Trophy winner as playoff MVP, Victor Hedman. So some very, very important players of that roster have been had their names forever etched on the Stanley Cup trophy. So congratulations to Tampa Bay. It's been a long time coming for that team. They've been in the running for the last couple of years and just couldn't quite figure out how to get it done. But now they have, so congratulations to them. But anyway,
I'll make it 8.
Yes, I thought it was 8. I counted up on the roster. I checked their 1920 roster this morning before I sent out the tweet, and I think there was a few Russians, there was one Swede, and I think one guy from the Czech Republic, and then a Slovakian guy, I think. So I think I managed to tally everybody up. If I didn't, I'm sorry to the one or two people that I forgot.
Well, I've just done it, and I got the same, so...
Good. Well, I mean, they've won the Stanley Cup. I don't really think they care what I have to say today, So, anyway... Speaking of another trophy that's not happening this year, because 2020 wasn't bad enough, folks, let me bring up this article here from TSN. It's been announced elsewhere around the hockey world as well. The very historied Spengler Cup is not being awarded this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. TSN has written this article. Spengler Cup cancelled due to COVID-19. It was written about an hour ago when I brought this up. So, according to TSN, this is what they say. The 2020 Spengler Cup in Davos, which is in Switzerland, has been cancelled due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The decision marks only the 5th time since the tournament was first held in 1923. Almost 100 years the Spengler Cup has been handed out. So since 1923 that it has been cancelled, joining 1939, 1940, I wonder why those two were cancelled, 1949 and 1956. According to the organising committee president, Mark Gianola, I probably pronounced that name awfully, but I gave it a go. A Spengler Cup without fan tent, without ice dome, in a half-empty stadium and without standing room has nothing in common with the hockey festival we have become accustomed to. Even with the best safety concept, this would not be possible to realise. This kind of bad translation I'm trying to figure out as I go along. The health of all participating teams and the hope that they could return to their home countries in good health was always the highest priority in our evaluation. We cannot make that guarantee. Now, it's important to mention that Canada has won the tournament in 4 of the past 5 years. Usually it's Davos that take part because they're the host nation. They'll usually get a team from the KHL taking part, one of the sort of lower ranked teams in the league. They usually go for like a Torpedo or usually a Torpedo or something like that is the team that usually competes, like a Dynamo Minsk or something. Although they're playing very well this year, we'll get onto that. And they'll have a Team Canada, which is essentially, you remember when the Winter Olympics last happened and they didn't have NHL athletes? It's essentially that team. It's basically guys that aren't playing in the NHL that may have not been playing all season long, and they join the Team Canada team to purely participate in this. You see some like NHL prospects that used to be really high up the list that haven't quite translated, or you find guys that are on the tail end of their careers winning it. So, Chris, the announcement that the Spengler Cup has been cancelled, what are your thoughts, bud?
Yeah, I mean, it was meant to start on Boxing Day. It's kind of a nice Christmas tournament that we have each year. I think, again, it's just, as we've said it so far with the current situation, it's the fact that nobody knows what's going to happen. They can't plan ahead enough to get people to travel, like the Canadian team, halfway around the world and what have you, to end up in Switzerland. And it is a difficult one. If it was like a domestic competition, you could get away with it more easily. But to have, obviously, every country is concerned about bringing it into their country in a fresh batch, so to speak.
Yes.
So it's not surprising, but I think it makes more sense this season to keep everything domestic as much as possible and concentrate on domestic leagues rather than a short competition, particularly when, as they said, you can't get the number of fans in and the standing and all the rest of it to make it what they're used to and what to them the tournament is all about.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's one of those situations where, given the global scope of the tournament and the fact that I don't think they'd want to hold it under different circumstances, in the sense that they have all domestic teams taking part, or they cherry pick the places where the teams come from. I think the Spengler Cup likes the fact that they have a team in, they have a Team Canada roster coming over every year to compete. It's obviously a very storied and historied trophy. Like we mentioned, it's 97 years old, the tradition of handing out the Spengler Cup. So I have no worries that once, or hopefully as everything starts to blow over a little bit, we should be fine, and it should come back, and it should be stronger than it's ever been before. Obviously, Canada's had a lot of success with it over the last half a decade. But like Chris and I, we talked about it just before we went live, and, you know, it sucks, but given the circumstances, it makes the most sense to kind of postpone it and go back to the drawing board for a little while and see if they can do it next year, which is kind of the summary that we've had for so many different things so far this year. Obviously, there's threats of the second wave picking up now, countries now going back into second lockdown. So it's very clear that the current pandemic isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And if anything, it's becoming gradually stronger with each passing day. And as people are starting to perhaps become a little bit more complacent and wanting to go out more or socialize more, or not necessarily engage in wearing masks or social distancing, whatever your opinions are on that, whatever your thoughts are, I'm not here to dictate to you what you should and shouldn't do. That's for your governments to do. But at the same time, you know, we're seeing a rise in cases across the world. Sure, most of them people are going to recover from. It's not going to be an issue. But, you know, it's something that when you consider, especially a league that we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail in the next sort of 10 minutes or so, the effect that not really tackling COVID has had, or kind of allowing it to run rampant in your league, has had a big effect on both the people watching and the on-ice product. So that's a little bit of a teaser to what we're going to get onto in a minute. But yeah, so the Spengler Cup, the 100-year trophy, not being given out this year. It sucks, but it's the right thing to do. I think we've both made that consensus decision, right, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do, really. And hopefully it will come back stronger in the end of 21.
Yes, let's hope it is coming back for 2021. Obviously, a long way to go, but, you know, it's important to keep these things in mind. So from one European or transatlantic competition to another, let's move to the Champions Hockey League, because we've had some details released today about the inter-European tournament, the Champions Hockey League, which we've talked about several times already in this series, this podcast, this season, I should say. They obviously pushed things back, like we mentioned a few episodes ago, to mid-November. Now they've announced the times and the matchups for Tuesday, the 17th of November. It is important to mention that the first game is actually kicking off on Monday the 16th. So there's one game on Monday the 16th, which kicks everything off. Then everything is Tuesday the 17th and Wednesday the 18th. So, Chris, do you want to just remind everybody how the Champions Hockey League, the first round is set up this year and how it differs from usual years? Because there'll obviously be a lot of people listening that might not have tuned into the Champions Hockey League before or don't know the changes that are taking place this year compared to other years. So go for it.
Yeah, so the information we've got today isn't really that new.
No.
What we've got is the times, but we already knew when the dates were going to be, and the intention to play both games in the same arena of the team of the higher rank. So that's what we've got confirmation of today. So there is 32 teams in the Champions Hockey League. Well, there should be 32 teams. There's 31 this year because the Cardiff Devils pulled out after the Elite League was suspended a couple of weeks ago. So we have, normally they're into 8 groups of 4. You play group games similar to kind of the Football World Cup, all that sort of thing. This year, to cut down on the games, we're going straight into a knockout round of 32, home and away, aggregate score, and the winner goes through. So again, to try and reduce the effects of the coronavirus, we've got the games are being played back to back. Normally they're a week apart. The thinking here being is that you can play both games before any effects of the virus take effect, and you can at least get the round done.
Yeah.
And they're both being played in the same arena to limit the travel as well. So we've got 15 ties on that week, beginning the 16th of November. Fire Stad, who were playing Cardiff, have been given a bye because Cardiff have pulled out. So everyone is, obviously the times are slightly different depending on the time zone that they're in. But yeah, we now know who's playing who and when, which is the key thing. So there'll be plenty of Champions Hockey League starting, in about 6 weeks' time.
Yep, about 6 weeks. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've got up on the screen for everybody watching the matchups between the all of the teams. I was going to say, if Chris forgot, that it's obviously a little bit.
Bear with me.
Yeah, no worries. Go for it. So it's a little bit uneven in terms of the matchups because, as you can see, there's 8 different matchups on one side and only 7 on the other side. Like Chris mentioned, Fire Stad was supposed to play the Cardiff Devils. However, due to Cardiff pulling out, Fire Stad have been given a bye through to the next round. So it starts Tuesday the 17th with Skellefteå and EV Zug going up against each other on Monday the 16th. And these are the matchups for the round of 32. So you've got Skellefteå against Zug, you've got Sparta against Lukko, Tappara against Salzburg, you've got Grodno against Frölunda, the defending champions obviously, you've got Aalborg against Karpat, you've got Berlin against Luleå, you have Biel against Bolzano, you have Grenoble against Mannheim, so that's the 8 on this side. Then you have Tichy against Liberec, you have Geneva against Straubing, you have Isles against Munich, you have Stavanger against Rogel, you have Junost Minsk against Trinek, you have Vienna against Davos, obviously the hosts of the usual Spengler Cup, but they're not hosting it this year, as we just mentioned. And then Sondersjijk, the Continental Cup champions, against Zurich, the Zurich Lions. So those are the matchups, and I've got the image for the second set of matchups. It's literally just basically the same teams playing each other, but the next day. So interestingly, the Skellefteå Zug series will actually be done on Tuesday the 17th, according to the Champions Hockey League. So when all the other teams go for their first game of the round of 32, the Zug Skellefteå game the series would have already been decided. So obviously, Chris and I are going to go into a lot more detail regarding the series and the matchups. And the good thing is, because we've been keeping an eye on a lot of these European leagues, we're going to be a lot more informed as to the teams that are playing well at the moment, the teams that are having a bit of a rough run in their domestic leagues, and kind of give you a bit more of an informed opinion on who we think might take these games. Obviously, they're inter-Europe matchups, so a Finnish team is going up against a German or an Austrian team, so, it might be a little bit one-sided in that sense. Obviously, for the lower league teams, or the teams that come from lower ranked leagues, it's going to be more difficult for them to have an impact in this tournament, because they've only got 2 games potentially before they're eliminated. Whereas usually they'd have 6 to 8 games usually to play against their opponents, so they'd have the opportunity to, play them a few times, maybe pick up a few wins here and there and finish respectably. Whereas I would imagine this year there's going to be several examples of them racking the score up a few times. So, Chris, you're back with us now, I take it. What are your thoughts on the Champions Hockey League?
Somebody knocked on my door and then they'd gone by the time I got there. But there's a very suspicious-looking man with gloves and 2 screwdrivers standing on the road. So I'm just trying to keep an eye on him to make sure he's not going to try and break in.
Okay, so I'll just keep talking, and if we hear smashing glass, I'll cut the recording. Is that a good idea?
So we were talking about Champions Hockey League?
Champions Hockey League. So I obviously mentioned that we've got we're going to talk about it in more detail in the next 6 weeks. And I said that we're going to be a lot more informed with a lot of these teams, as opposed to other years we might have kept in touch with the Champions Hockey League. Obviously, it sucks that we don't have a British team playing this year, but because we're keeping an eye on all of these leagues and all of these standings, we're going to be able to do a better job of telling you the teams to look out for, aren't we, Chris?
Yeah, we're going to be able to do a quite a decent job. We know the breakdown, but as I say, because we're looking at all of the leagues domestically as well, we know much more. It's not like this is a team that we're only aware of come the middle of November and then they get knocked out, so they're forgotten about again.
Yeah.
These are the best teams in all of their leagues, and we're covering these leagues.
Absolutely. And speaking of covering leagues, one of which isn't actually in the Champions Hockey League, because they feel they're a little bit too good for the Champions Hockey League, and quite rightly so. Let's move on to rounding up all of the different leagues and the standings. We've got a lot of them to go through today, folks, so if we don't give certain leagues as much attention as we usually do, just bear with us. We just want to make sure that you guys have the right news there. So, first of all, let's start off with the KHL standings, because of course, why not? So, in the Western Conference, CSKA Moscow is currently sitting in first place with 15 points in 9 games to start the season. SK St. Petersburg in second with 14 points in 10 games. Dynamo Minsk still doing a fantastic job to start the season. They're only 1 point back from first place, and they're tied games in hand, so doing a brilliant job there. Then you've got Dynamo Moscow, Severstal, Spartak Moscow have jumped up 2 places in the standings. This is as of a couple of hours ago. They picked up a win or 2. They've got 9 points in 10 games, so not the best start for Moscow, but the only way's up for them. Lokomotiv and Vityaz have both dropped 2 places as well. They've both got 8 points, but Vityaz has it in 9 games. Jokerit has 6 points in 5 games. They're now back on the ice. They've played 2 games since coming back after quarantine. They beat Novosibirsk and then they lost to CSKA Moscow. So they've got several games in hand, almost double the amount of games left to play. So they'll be up there in the standings, or they should be anyway. Then Sochi and Dynamo Riga take the bottom of the standings. Riga with just 3 points in 6 games this year. Haven't played the most amount of games, to be fair. They've still got a couple of games in hand, but it's not looking too good for them to start the year. And then in the Eastern Conference, we have Omsk taking the lead with 18 points in 11 games. Although Akbars Kazan, if they win their game in hand, they could go top because they're second place. Salavat is at third place, 16 points in 11 games. 10 points for Avtoy Mobilist, 14 points in 10 games. They're fourth place. 12 points for Metalurg in 9 games. Tractor going an even 500, 10 points in 10 games. Sibir Novosibirsk has taken up the 7th spot. They've jumped up above Torpedo because they have 9 points in 11 games to Torpedo's 8 points in 10 games. Then Baris Astana, 7 points in 6 games for 9th place. Neftahimik, 6 points in 9 games for 10th place. Amur, 5 points in 11 games. They've actually tied the most games of any team in the league, and they've only got 5 points, only 1 win in regulation, 1 win in overtime, so 2 wins on the year. And last but definitely least, we have Kunlun Redstar, 3 points in 9 games to start the year. And yeah, they've started to bring over some of their imports, and it will take a little while, I think, for those guys to kind of pick up the pace for this season and kind of get everybody into game shape, They recently signed one of their imports to a 2-year contract, and he was their top scorer last year, I think. So they're starting to get the people back that they need. However, it's one of those situations where they're not quite in the right position to compete for wins so far this season. So, Chris, another week has gone in the KHL standings. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a more balanced week. We've seen some results that haven't gone the way we were expecting. One in particular we'll get onto at the minute. Kunlun actually got a win.
Hey!
So that's something. But again, we're starting to see that divide between the top and the bottom that we spoke about last week. And then the teams that you would somewhat suspect to be getting up there are getting up there. Akbar's are only 1 point off the top of the East, but they've got a game in hand.
Yeah.
So obviously there's still, with postponements and stuff, postponements are really hitting the European leagues hard at the moment. But there's a lot of obviously differences in the number of games played. So yeah, well, I mean, we'll see how it goes in the following weeks, but I think we're starting to see that split now. But we are still getting results that we weren't expecting. The SK St. Petersburg and Sibir one for a start.
Yeah, and before we get on to that, Chris, that's a lovely segue, but I just want to mention, because you brought it up, Kunlun Redstar's only win of the season came because the other team had to forfeit because they didn't turn up to the game. So they haven't even won a game when they've been on the ice. So whilst that sucks, and whilst that's really terrible for Kunlun Redstar, they got the win. At the end of the day, they're happy with the win. They're tied for last place in the league, 3 points on the season with Dinamo Riga, although Riga have played 3 less games, so don't expect them to be sat there at 3 points when the next 3 games come in. But yeah, speaking of the SK St. Petersburg Novosibirsk game, as we've mentioned a couple of times, we've kind of brushed it under the carpet the last few episodes because we've had so much to talk about. But the KHL is really dealing with a coronavirus issue. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, of course they are, Odd Man Rush. Of course they are, Hayden. You know, like, it's Russia. They don't care. Well, they've been allowing fans into the arenas. They've been having loads of teams and loads of players on teams test positive for the coronavirus. I obviously talked about on my YouTube channel, Jokerit's gone down with it. Lokomotiv's had a game cancelled, I believe. Dinamo Minsk have had games postponed or cancelled due to issues. Baris Astana has had games postponed or cancelled. I think there's a couple of other teams that I haven't mentioned too. Neftahimik obviously tested positive as well. We're talking like half a dozen to maybe 10 different teams that have been affected. Their season's been affected by the coronavirus. Akbar's Kazan, they obviously had a game against Jokerit, which was postponed due to them being in quarantine. And the same with Metalurg Magnitogorsk and CSKA Moscow, for example. So whether they've had positive tests or not, some of these other teams that haven't had positive tests have seen their seasons or their schedules affected by the coronavirus due to the kind of knock-on, the domino effect that some of the other teams have had. Speaking of which, there was a bit of a record that took place in the KHL recently, and that was in the game between SK St. Petersburg and Sibir Novosibirsk. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, this game was actually shown in the UK on Free Sports, and I was like, oh yeah, SK St. Petersburg's my favourite KHL team. I want to get the chance to watch them. First of all, the Free Sports coverage was very choppy at best, so I wasn't very happy with that. Kind of turned it off after 5 minutes because it kept glitching out. And I knew it wasn't like my internet or anything because my internet was working fine. It's just they kept losing the feed to the game. So I was like, that's a shame. But like, I'm going to turn it off kind of thing, you know, and carry on like working or whatever I was doing. But the interesting thing, as you can see on the screen here, the average age of the SKA St. Petersburg roster in that game was 21 years old. 21 years old, folks. Now, I would imagine a lot of you might be asking, Hayden, why was the average age of the SK St. Petersburg roster, a team that features Lyndon Vey, features, you know, Askarov, who's, he's 21 years old, he's their starting netminder at the moment, features so many older, solid players, Miro Altonen, you know, Viktor Shaitev, I think he's still on the team, I can't remember off the top of my head. They've got plenty of solid players on their roster, don't get me wrong. And you might be thinking, well, how come the average age is only 21? They've got some guys in their mid to late 20s. Well, the problem is, folks, a lot of them tested positive for the coronavirus, or they were in close contact with players that did. So I believe about 12 to 16 players on SKA's roster were taken off because they had either tested positive or been in close contact with people that had. So they had to bring up a load of players from the minor or the junior leagues, and that's why the average age of the roster was 21 years old. Chris, when you hear this fact that they actually set the record for the lowest aged roster in KHL history in that game, I think it was last Wednesday when it happened. And for context, Sibir Novosibirsk won the game 4-1. I believe Morozov of St. Petersburg, I can't remember which team he's related to. It's not the Canucks. It's either the Blue Jackets or the Golden Knights. Can't remember which one he's been drafted by. He scored a penalty shot goal to tie the game 1-1 before Novosibirsk won the game 4-1. When you've heard all of the stuff that's been happening in the KHL over this season, Chris, and all of the coronavirus issues that they've had, you've seen this reality and the fact that they've had to ice a roster 21 years old, which is the average age. What are your thoughts when you see this news, Chris?
It kind of makes me think that maybe this Russian vaccine isn't so good. But no, I mean, I'm used to obviously watching games where the average age, I think, of our team is about 18, and that's only because we've got a couple of 30-year-olds in there.
Yeah,
And you get beat every game. So, it's an interesting one. But I mean, the thing is at 21, you're still developing as a hockey player. You haven't had the chance to play as many games as the people you're coming up against. You're not as big and as strong as they are. So it's not really surprising that this kind of happened. And Sibir, they threw themselves around. There was a kneeing call, a holding call, tripping call. So they really tried to take that physicality to SK. I mean, it did well for them in the end with the goals that they scored. But yeah, I'm not really surprised that they lost that game, to be honest. But it's good at least that they got the, they had the squad size and the academy to bring players up to play the game. It's something that not every team around Europe has. The Extra Liga, which I know we'll go on to, has had a lot of postponements. Yeah, I bet Sibir were kind of rubbing their hands together with glee at the end of that, really, when they found out they were going to be coming up against effectively an academy side.
I mean, yeah, I would have been too. Let's be perfectly honest here, folks. Like, if you're the opposing team coming into the arena and finding out, oh, by the way, you're playing a load of junior players, you're not going to complain. You're not going to be like, oh, no, really? I wanted to play against Linden Vey and Askarov, Like, no, you obviously you don't have any sort of you don't have any power regarding that, so you just got to take the game as it comes. That doesn't mean it was an easy game for them to win, though. Obviously, Sibir went up 1-0, but St. Petersburg managed to tie things up. So they gave them a relatively competitive game early on. It was a little bit choppy, obviously, because there were a lot of players being brought in and kind of, go, have fun, try and play well, but it obviously didn't quite work out for SK St. Petersburg. Once they get all their players back, they should be fine. I wouldn't worry about them too much, folks. So let's move on to the rest of the leagues in Europe, and let's just kind of do a crash course in every single one. Let's start with the Swedish Hockey League. They've only played 2 or 3 games so far this year. Firestad and HV71 are the only 2 teams that have played 3 games this season. Everybody else has played 2, except for Malmo and Djurgården, as I was told I should pronounce it by one of the comments on my recent YouTube video. So everybody's played at least 2 games, except for 4 teams, which is a large percentage of the league, but still. Chris, do you want to take us through the standings? I've got them up here, or do you want me to take us through them?
Yeah, no, I can take us through the Swedish Hockey League
Take us through them quickly, Chris.
Yeah, okay, when it loads up. Right, so at the top of the table, we've got 4 teams that are a perfect 2 for 2. Lelea, Frölunda, Örebro, and Rögle. They're up at the top. Bear in mind, of course, we're still very early for the playoffs, but they take in the kind of quarterfinal stages with that. HV71 not having a good time of things down at the bottom. They have no points. They conceded 11 goals in their 3 games. The only other teams not to have scored a point yet are Malmo and Djurgården, and they have only played the 1 game, so it's not as much of a problem for them as it is for HV71. So they better start picking some results up quickly, because they're not looking like they're having a good start to the season. And of course, it's early days, but you don't want to be in that play-out situation towards the end of the season. So yes, we are still very early in the SHL. There's next round of games is Thursday, with everybody in action there, unless there are some postponements. And then there's a load more on Saturday as well. So Swedish Hockey League just kind of ticking along slowly but nicely.
Exactly, and I think it's good that you mention HV71 needing to pick things up a little bit, because, like we mentioned, they're bottom of the league and they've played 3 games, whereas Malmo and Djurgården, they've played a game each. So, take a loss in your first game of the season, that's not a huge You know, that's not like the end of the world. Obviously, 3 games in isn't the end of the world either, but it's kind of like, oh, okay, maybe we need to change a few things here. Before we move on from this league, I just want to mention, Chris, can you find out for me quickly, if you have the chance, the starting netminder for Frölunda this year? And the reason I mention that is because he hasn't allowed a goal all season. He's played 2 games, hasn't allowed a single goal. Frölunda have scored 5 goals, allowed 0. The only team that hasn't scored a goal this year is Djurgården, because they were beaten 2-0, I believe, likely by Frölunda. I think it was by Frölunda. I could probably bring it up here.
Yeah, it was by Frölunda.
Yeah, it was by Frölunda, 2-0. So there you go. So obviously Frölunda having a good start to the season, looking to kick things off well before they start their repeat of the Champions Hockey League. But fair play to Frölunda's netminder. What's that, sorry?
Niklas Rubin.
Well, Niklas Rubin, you've had a great start to the year, bud. I mean, you've...
There's the 21 plus 19, so 40 saves, no goals against.
That's a pretty good start to the season if you ask me, Chris. So there you go. Well done to Frölunda. Obviously they haven't scored the most goals this year. Luleå are up at top, but they're tied first place, so you know, good start to the year for them. But like we mentioned, there's not really a huge amount to talk about. They only really play at the weekends and maybe once every so often during the week. Only a pair of games for most teams. So let's move on to the Czech Extraliga, a league that's been going for a week longer. There's still a couple of teams that haven't played any games yet, which is quite interesting. I would imagine that's due to games being postponed, Chris, perhaps?
Yes, the Czech Extraliga is really struggling with games being postponed. There's a good chunk of them that are not going ahead.
Interesting.
I'll just bring it up. As I say, there's some teams that didn't play because they went into a quarantine. But put it this way: the Czech Extraliga is meant to have 8 games today. 5 have been postponed.
Oh God!
So it's not going well for the Czech Extraliga. If we go back to they wouldn't have had any games yesterday anyway. Go back to Sunday, they were meant to have 7 games and 4 of them were postponed. So it's really not going well for the Extraliga, which is why some of the standings really aren't as good as you'd like. But leading the way, Mountfield HK, after they've got 11 points in their 4 games because they've had 3 wins and an overtime win, or actually it's a penalty shootout win, which we'll come on to later.
Yes,
because there's some particularly interesting bit about that shootout. At the bottom of the teams that have played, it's Litvinov and Ceska Bujovic, who are struggling at the bottom. No points from their games. They've played 2 each. Vitkovic and Commenter Brno haven't played yet. So they are down near the bottom, but their goal difference is actually putting them ahead of teams that have played. So Liberec up near the top, as are Pilsen. Trinek as well, they're in the top 4. They've only played 2 games. They've won 2. Played 2, won 2 of Trinek, so they're off to a good start as well. 11 goals in 2 games they've had, as well as 6-3 victory over Litvinov and a 5-2 victory over Karlovy. So good start for them. But yes, it's Mountfield leading the way, and even with games in hand, unless Trinek win both of theirs, it's Mountfield that will stay leading the way once everybody has caught up. So they're obviously hitting a strong run of form. They don't have the Champions Hockey League this year, so they can focus entirely on the Extraliga.
Which, you know, I mean, if you're not going to make it to the Champions Hockey League and you're having a good domestic season, you might see yourself back there for the 2021 season, you know? So why not? Speaking of the Champions Hockey League with the Czech Extraliga, though, Sparta Prague obviously are one of the teams from the Czech League in the tournament. Had a bit of a rough start to the year so far. 7th place in the league, 1 win in 3 games, and they've allowed more goals than they've scored by a margin of 8-9. So, Chris, do you think that could be a sign of that they... Do you think they'll, within the next 6 weeks or so, be able to pick up their form a little bit? They obviously lost their first game, won their second game, lost their most recent game. So, you know, kind of teetering on that 500 record at the moment. So, not quite ideal for them, but given the fact that it's still so early on in the season, it's not a huge loss for them to begin the year. But do you think it's going to be a sign of things to come, or do you think they obviously still have the chance to pick things up and then maybe use the Champions Hockey League or their place in the Champions Hockey League to kind of help bring the team together a little bit more and then go on a good run for the rest of the year?
I think they've still got a chance. I mean, the win they had was a shutout, and the two losses, they've only lost by 2 goals. It's not. I mean, they scored 3 and 2 in that.
Yeah.
In those games that they lost as well. So it's not like they're not finding the net. The defense, as I said, against Zlim was sound. They got a shutout. They're not being blown out of the water. So I think just give themselves 6 weeks to get them properly back into the swing of things, because they only had one friendly pre-season game before the season as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, which they won. Is that in overtime or in penalty shots? In overtime against Mlada Boleslav, who they lost to a couple of days ago. But yes, they only had the one game pre-season, so I think by the time they get to the Champions Hockey League, I think they'll be better in the swing of things and probably get some better results on the board. Although they're playing Luco from the Liga, and that's a tough fixture any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get on to talking about the Finnish League a little bit later, because, they're starting up soon. Let's move on to the Polish League now. They've obviously been going one of the longest leagues running so far this season. They've all played 6 games, so, it's nice to see a group of standings where every team has played the exact same amount of games. It's an even playing field for everyone, and there's really one team coming out on top here to start the season, isn't there, Chris?
There is. That'll be Torun. They have played 6, won 6, and they've got 3 shutouts in that as well.
Wow.
They've had a really strong start. Yeah, they've had a really strong start to the season. They beat Zaliby Osvenshim by 1-0. They beat Krakow Krakow by 5-0. They beat MMKS Podhale by 4-0. So they've really been playing well at the start of the season. There's a big difference there between the top and the bottom. Who have we got at the bottom? Well, played 6, lost 6. Oh. It's everybody's favourite, Stozhniovian Dansk, the team in the north. Obviously, the travelling struggling for them, clearly.
Yeah.
They're finding it difficult. But, if you look at some of the points as well, it's GKS Jastrzębie. They're doing all right as well. In the Polish Hockey League, they're in 2nd place. They have won 5 of their 6 games. The only team they lost to is Unai Oswiecim, but they are dominating in the top scorers as well. They have 2 players. They have Maciej Urbanautsvich, and they've got Zach Phillips. Zach Phillips will be a familiar name to some Nottingham Panthers fans after a season in Nottingham. He's now at Jastrzębie, and they both have 10 points from their 6 games. Phillips with 7 assists, 3 goals, and Urban Outfits the other way around. Polish Hockey League, we're seeing a good a spread really early on. Some teams really taking it by force. The top 4 of Torun, Jastrzębie, Tahir, and Unai Oswiecim really starting to get away from the rest of the pack now. They're 5 points clear, so pretty much 2 games ahead of everybody else, even at this early stage.
Speaking of Oswiecim, how's our boy Eliza Sherbatov doing so far this season? He's obviously played about 6 games for the team. Is he sitting up there still in terms of league leading, or has he dropped off a little bit?
He's dropped off a little bit,
okay.
But he's got 5 points from 6 games. So he's still pretty much doing a goal a game. A point a game.
Oh, that's pretty good. I'll take that. As a guy that's just joined the league for his first season in Poland, I'll take that. And you mentioned there's a bit of a disparity already, given the fact that there is the 3-point difference for a win or a loss. Torun is now at least 13 points above the 8th seed in the playoffs already. So it kind of goes to show you that if you go off on a run on like a 5-6 game stretch, you can really make some ground, or you can really split the difference between those teams around you. It does very much show the difference with kind of like football/soccer, however you want to call it. Like how having that 3-point win really does show you the best of the best and kind of the middling teams. And I can understand why there are some hockey fans that might want that in the NHL or other leagues. I personally don't agree. I quite like it the way it is, keeps it competitive. But who am I? Anyway, let's move on to the Danish Metal League. We've got them to talk about. There's only 9 teams obviously here. All still very close, I would say, with this league. Most of the teams played either 2 or 3 games. Only Esbjerg has played 1 game this season. Has there been any struggles with the coronavirus with this league? I wouldn't think so that much. Or is it just they just play like once every weekend?
I've not really had a look, to be honest. I mean, they're a bit... The Danish League, always, because there's only 9 teams, one team always has to miss out every time they do a round of
true.
games. But I can have a look back through, see if we've got any difficulties with the postponements. But no, we seem to be okay on the Metalungen postponements.
Okay.
But yes, the early dodgy, man. It looks dodgy. It's still outside. Well, he keeps walking back. He's actually got equipment now, so I think he's actually an engineer. But the way he was just kind of standing and everything just made him look
just
like
standing
really
there with
dodgy.
2 screwdrivers in his hands, like I see.
He's just got 2 screwdrivers, just kind of knocking on doors and walking away before people answer, and then just kind of trying to look into people's windows to see if anybody's there. And so no one has gone a perfect 3-for-3 here, by which I mean regulation time wins.
Mm-hmm.
Top of the table is the Rungster Seer Capital. They have won all their games, but the first one needed extra time. So again, it's all really quite tight here because they've barely played any games. I mean, if you double all the points, then you're starting to look more like the Polish league. But because we're only kind of 3 games in, you're very limited into the gaps you can do. Particularly, as you said, as SBR Energy have only played 1 game. Odsey Bulldogs, not going well for them. They've played 3 games, but they've only got 1 point. But in the Danish league, it's very, very early days.
Yes, still very early days. And obviously, the Aalborg Pirates are the team in the Champions Hockey League for this upcoming season. So we'll have to see how they do in the international competition. Hopefully, them keeping up their pace, maybe taking first place in the league again. By the time the Champions Hockey League first round rolls around, then they might have the chance to be a competitive team there. Obviously, bit of bated breath with that. We have to wait to see what happens. So, yep, that's the Danish Meta League and done. We obviously know that we're blitzing through these quite quickly because we've got lots of leagues to talk about as well, which are coming up this week.
Leagues to cover today. So
exactly. So let's move on to the French League. Penultimately, the second to last one we have to focus on. Most teams have played 1 game. The rest of them haven't played 1. I can sum up this one quite quickly. Grenoble sits at the top with Sergi Pontoise. They're sitting first and second in the league with a win each. And sitting at the bottom of the league, well, that's a regulation win, I should say. Mulhouse and Nice are down at the bottom in 11th and 12th with a regulation loss. And then with an overtime win, Gap and Angers. And then Anglais, Bordeaux are both in 5th and 6th. With a loss in overtime or shootout. Then Amiens, Briançon, Chamois, Mont Blanc, and Rouen are all at no games played. So I would imagine the French League is very much like 1 game every weekend, job done, move on to the next weekend, you know? So
it does seem a bit like that. So they had their opening fixtures on Saturday. As I said, 2 of those fixtures got postponed. They've got when are they next meant to be on? They've got a game next Sunday, but I think they must have some games before that. So their next round is Friday nights. They're very much kind of weekend fixtures, more like the Elite League here in the UK. We'll have to see what the postponements are like this week. As I said, they had a couple. They had a couple for their opening fixtures on Saturday. So whether they're struggling with the pandemic as well, we'll have to see kind of what happens. Maybe there could have been other reasons for those being postponed. It's obviously much an assumption that we're making at the moment that every postponement is down to the one thing. But we'll just keep our eye on that over the coming weeks and see how the French League's starting out.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, the Dynamo Minsk Jokerit game early on in the KHL season was postponed for a completely different reason. So, might not be what we're thinking, but obviously, given the current circumstances, it's probably safe to assume that's probably the most likely reason. And before we move on from the French League, Grenoble, obviously the French team in the Champions Hockey League, started off their season quite well with a 4-2 win to take the top of the league after the first week. So, can't really ask for much more than that, can you? What's that?
4-2 victory over Nice.
There you go, so over Nice. Okay, and they put Nice right at the bottom of the league, so nice one, Grenoble. And then finally, last but certainly not least, the leagues that are actually playing so far this year, we have the Ice Hockey League, which is the Austrian league, is it not, Chris?
It is.
Yes, so take us through it.
Okay, so I'm just making sure I've got the right one, because I've got them all on their names. No, that's the Swiss one. I've lost it on my note, but...
Do you want me to go through it?
Oh, there we go. Bet at home. There, now I've got it.
Okay.
It's because I've got it down as the full league, so I've got it down as the Bet at Home Ice Hockey League.
Right, got it.
Because that's the title sponsor. So yeah, an interesting start to this league as well. Top of the table with 2 wins from 2 is EHC Black Winds Lings. 6 goals for, only 1 against. So they got a shutout somewhere along the lines. A 2-0 victory over Graz 99ers so far this season. The other team to win 2 from 2 is HC Innsbruck, who have scored 8 goals in their 2 games. I think they've... So it's a 4-1 victory and a 4-3 victory for them. In third place, having only played the 1 game, is the Vienna Capitals. In 4th place is Red Bull Salzburg, and in 5th place is the Graz 99ers, who of course have Ben Bounds this
Boundsy
season. See if he's been he was in the net for their 6-4 victory over Färöar AV19, and he was also in the net for the 2-0 loss to Linz that I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Bolzano yet to play. There's only 11 teams in this league, so again, someone's always got to miss out during the games. But we have Villaher SV, Bratislava Capitals, the Dornbirn EC, and Färöar AV19, who have all lost the games they've started with. Not a good start for Villaher SV. 10 goals conceded in the 2 games that they've played. They lost by 6 goals to 1 on the opening day of the season to Red Bull Salzburg, and then a much more respectable 4-3 defeat to Innsbruck.
There are 3 teams from this league that go through to the Champions Hockey League, isn't there? Because it's Salzburg, Vienna, and Bolzano, correct?
I can just check it for you if you want.
Because I've already gotten rid of the tab, you know, I've already moved on. But
it's fine.
I think it is those 3. I know Bolzano are definitely in it, and I know Salzburg are in it.
Yeah, so we've got Bolzano, Salzburg, and the Capitals.
Yeah.
So Salzburg have got Tapara Tampere.
Okay.
So I know I'm going to say these like they're tough fixtures. I mean, it's the champion of champions. They're always going to be tough fixtures, aren't they? Bolzano have got EHC BLBN from Switzerland. And who was the last one? I've forgotten who it was already.
Vienna.
Oh, Vienna. The Vienna Capitals, they have got HC Davos.
Okay, so a couple of Swiss teams in there, and then a Finnish team. Why not? So that's pretty much all of the leagues that we've already looked at so far this season, all of the leagues that have started up. Let's move on to the leagues that are coming up, shall we, Chris? And let's start with one of the big ones, probably the third biggest one that we're going to talk about all year long. And that is, of course, the Finnish Liiga. Yay! So I've got the image up there to show the league that we are talking about. The Finnish Liiga. So, Chris, we're almost 50 minutes into this recording already. So
I'm going to race through this.
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so the Finnish Liiga is predominantly Finnish players.
Yeah.
If we just take, just for example, Helsinki IFK, they've got 4 imports. That's it. It's predominantly Finnish. So this year there are 15 teams in the league. We have Helsinki IFK. We have Hämeenlinna Palakero. We have Tampereen Ilves. We have Mikelin Jukurit. We have Jip Jyväskylä. We've got Kalevin Palo. We've got Koko. We've got Oulun Karpat. We've got Rauman Luko, Laden Pelicans, the Seaman Palo, Vasan Sport, Tapara Tampere, TPS Turku, and Porin Assat. Those are the teams in the Finnish Liiga. I'll just have a look at what happened last season. Obviously, the playoffs were cancelled. It's a 59 game season. That's a bit strange. 59 games, but one team played 60.
I would imagine it's obviously because the season was cancelled just before the playoffs then, I would imagine.
I would suggest it was something along those lines. Let me just try and work out. Let me try and do some quick maths.
I feel like I need the countdown clock.
Well, there's 15 teams, so you play 14 other teams. So that would be 28, 56, 72. Yeah, because they're not going to have an 86 game season, are they?
No, not a chance.
But that would make them play you 5 times.
Well, so how much did they play? How much did they play the season before?
That's a good question.
Chris does all the difficult things. I just ask the simple questions.
Okay, they played 60. There some? Let me just check. I bet there's a.
I would imagine they play every team twice, and then teams in their division a couple more times, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it's something along those lines. Yeah. So we've got the winners of last season. That was Karpat, who have won it now for a couple of years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They have finished with 127 points, dominating.
Wow.
Performance from them. They have finished top of the league for the last 3 years in a row. They were the champions in 17-18. They lost in the final 18-19, and they were top of the league 19-20, but they lost. But the playoffs were cancelled. They've had a very 1, 2, 3. They've won 3 championships since it became the Liga 7 years ago.
Okay.
Elsewhere, so second off was Lukko and then Tappara. Finland being one of the teams, one of the countries that founded the Champions Hockey League. They get 4 teams in the Champions Hockey League: Karpat, Lukko, Tappara, and Tampere Ilves. So they are all in the Champions Hockey League. Karpat have got the Aalborg Pirates, so difficult game for the Danish against the best team in Finland. We've already mentioned that Lukko have got Sparta Prague, Tampere. I think we mentioned that as well, haven't we? They are playing Red Bull Salzburg, which we did mention. And then Tampere Ilves, they've got Red Bull Munich of the DEL. And now they might be in a bit of a stronger situation because the DEL was only starting the week before. So might not be in as strong a position to contest in the Champions Hockey League. But yes, that's the Liga, really. So everyone, again, pretty much in the southern section of Finland, apart from Karpat, who are kind of in the middle.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry to interrupt you there, Chris. But yeah.
That's all right.
The NHL fans will know the team Karpat due to the fact that it's the home of current former 4th overall draft pick by the Edmonton Oilers, Jesse Puljujarvi. And there's been obviously a lot of talks as to whether he's coming back to Edmonton, whether they're going to trade him, because he obviously left Edmonton and went back to Karpat. Had a very good year with Karpat last year, both domestically and in the Champions Hockey League. So, there's a really good effort from him, getting some time back home in his domestic league. Hopefully things work out the way they're supposed to with all the parties involved there. But yeah, the Finnish Liiga, Chris and I ranked them as kind of the 3rd best league in Europe behind the KHL and the SHL. There's a very strong argument that could be made that the Liga is right up there with the Swedish Hockey League. I'm willing to have that conversation and that discussion, should that be something that needed to happen at some point in my life. But yeah, the Finnish Liiga, pretty strong league. Speaking of one of the other strong leagues in Europe, we have the commencement of one of the other very, very good leagues, more English-speaking than some of the other ones we've been talking about recently, and that is, of course, the Swiss National League. Here we go. So, Chris, take us through them.
So again, these have got more imports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 imports and a couple of dual nationals in the Swiss National League. But these have 12 teams in it. We have HC Ambry Piotta, SC Bern, EHC Bielbien, HC Davos, Genève Servette, HC Freiburg Gutteron, the SC Longnu Tigers, the Lausanne HC, HC Lugano, CS Rapperswil Jona Lakers, Zerkar SC Lions, and EV Sug. There's, as I said, there's 12 teams in that league. So last season they played 50 games each. They did a bit of a split by the look of it to make around 50 games. But the winners last season were the Zirkel Lions, or the Zurich Lions, as we'd hear it over here, by a single point. They won from their 50 games. They won 23 in regular season, won 8 in overtime, so 31. So it's quite a close league, actually. The top 4 teams separated by just 2 points.
Wow.
So the top 4 teams separated by just a single game. Then there's an 11-point gap back down to the 5th place side. So a really competitive league, the post-finance National League, the Swiss National League. They have got a number of teams. They've got 5 places in the Champions Hockey League. So I won't go through them all because a lot of them we've mentioned already because of the other teams that they're playing. But yeah, a really, really competitive league is the NLA. 50 games they played last season, so I suspect they're going to do the same this season as well. With the 12 teams. Doesn't look like there's any promotional relegation either, unless they suspended it for this season. And they're dotted all around Switzerland. So no one's got really horrible traveling that they've got to do anything like that. But yeah, that starts on Thursday. So yesterday, as this goes out, was the first round of those matches. I'll just get the first round up so I can see who's playing who and when. Have we got Clash of the Titans in the first first day or not? Well, we'll have a look. But yeah, I'm so surprised that you look at the standings and you've got the Lions, Zug, Davos, and Genève Servette separated by just a single game.
Wow.
No, we haven't really got any Clash of the Titans on the first round. We've got SC Bern against Ambry Piotta. We've got Freiburg Gutteron against Rapperswil Jona Lakers. We've got Lausanne against Longny Tigers, and we've got Lugano against the Zirkel Lions. So yeah, we'll keep your eye on the National League as well. But it's a strong league, and it looks like it's really quite competitive at the top. There's none. I think, like, was it the Polish League or the Danish League where the team at the bottom has like 5 points? There's none of that this time around. There's the Rapperswil Jona Lakers came bottom last time. They were 11 points off the next place side, but it's a very competitive league looking at last season's standings.
Well, that's good to know. Good to know that there's a lot of parity in one of Europe's better leagues. It is also important to mention that the Swiss National League is a preferred league to a lot of former NHLers that have kind of seen their careers take a tailspin, kind of towards the latter half, the twilight years, and thinking, okay, I can't make an NHL roster, but I've got a few good years left in me where I could earn some money in a decent league across the pond. The Swiss National League is a preferred league to a lot of them. I think the fact because they're a little bit more lenient to English speaking, to say the Swedish Hockey League or the Finnish Liiga, and certainly the KHL. So it's either a lot of them either go to the KHL because it's the next step on the ladder, or they go to the Swiss National League because it's also a very good league and very much more preferred English speaking as well. I've got to admit I have a soft spot for the Zurich Lions, given that I got the chance to go and see their arena. It's a very nice arena. And obviously SC Bern is important to mention because they bring in the biggest crowds of any team in Europe for many, many years on the trot. So if you want some dedicated hockey fans, Switzerland's the place to go, and more specifically SC Bern. I'd love to go and see a game in SC Bern one time and just see how many fans are in attendance. Obviously, after everything's happened, and we're not in the after times or the apocalypse anymore, all of that stuff. I forgot to mention, Chris, both the Liga and the Swiss National League, is there any promotional relegation involved in those two leagues, or is it just the same teams?
Doesn't seem to be, no.
Okay, fair enough.
They're closed off because the difference is so large.
I think that's the smartest thing to do, to be honest. Obviously, there are some leagues that allow promotion and relegation, but you've got to have the infrastructure in place and enough parity between the top and bottom to allow for some sort of even playing field, or as even as possible when teams that join the league come up, and when if they go back down, you don't want them like completely dominating from the drop of the puck. So so that's the two big leagues. Obviously we're going to focus on them a lot as the season goes on. I would imagine sort of as we go along with each of the weeks, the KHL, the SHL, the Liga, the National League, they're going to be the full leagues that we very much put most of our time and attention to. And then the minor leagues we'll kind of look at as we go along. But we've got two more leagues to talk about before we move on to kind of audience questions and rounding up and doing some bonus clips and stuff. And the first of which is the Alps Hockey League. Now, Chris, I've got to be perfectly honest, I don't quite understand the Alps Hockey League because as far as I'm aware, there's several different teams from several different countries involved. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a very minor league. We're probably not really going to touch it that much, I'll be honest.
Okay.
There's a lot of teams in here. So take Red Bull Salzburg. Their second team is in the Alps Hockey League. But I was looking at like the Italian league, and it struck me that there was about 6 teams in it.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd look at this where they had a good kind of 15 or so.
Okay.
So you've got, there's 16 teams in this, and they're having like they're obviously doing a different format this year. They're having like a return to play system. So they're not going to have a proper system by the look of it this year either, which is even more of a reason to not cover them in too much detail. But you've got things like Red Bull Salzburg's second team, the Red Wing Linz's second team, Vienna's Capital's second team, Klagenfurt. But then you've got Italian teams as well. So Asiago, Cortina, just get me a thing up. So yeah, from Italy, you've got Asiano, Cortina, you've got the Fassa Falcons, you've got the Gerdana, you've got Pustertal and Val Pustiera in there as well. Ritten, who again Panthers fans will know, and Sturznig as well. So there's plenty of teams in there, but they come from Italy, Austria, and Slovakia. There's a couple of Slovakian teams in there as well, but they're kind of the teams that are all kind of in and around the Alps. It kind of says everything that it needs to. So it is just more a chance of. I see this as kind of a development league. See, Italy, as we know, not the greatest hockey nation.
No.
But so it is more a bit of a development league. But I thought I would kind of have a look at that over the. I just get the Italian Hockey League up just for a reference, just to remind myself. The Italian Hockey League has got 7 teams in it.
Okay.
And they also play in the Alps Hockey League to kind of make their game numbers up.
Right, okay.
Because you can't really make a full-on season with 7 teams, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I went for the Alps Hockey League.
Okay.
As well. So, yeah, it's a very minor league. We probably won't cover it that much. But, that starts on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think it's important you mention that because obviously as all of the bigger leagues are starting to kick off, we're probably not when we're another 3-4 weeks into the season, we're not going to go through every single league and look at every single league standings. We'll just focus on like the top 5 or so. We'll do the deep dives into them because they've obviously got other competitions like the Champions Hockey League and, you know, like all of that other stuff going on. But we'll be able to kind of keep you updated every once in a while, and also if we find any really interesting stories, we've obviously mentioned it in that league in a little bit of detail earlier in the season or earlier in some of the other episodes. So it's not a completely alien concept that we're having to explain the league from scratch every time we mention them, you know. So yeah, the Alps Hockey League, you know, give them a bit of love while we have the chance, because, you know, we're not hugely backdated with a lot of stuff at the moment. And speaking of one more league to look at that's more of a minor league that we want to make sure we give a bit of love as well. Let's finish off. This is the 12th league, I think, we've looked at this episode. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11th, sorry. The 11th European league that we have mentioned in this episode. So we're really getting into hockey being back in Europe, which is great. It also means we've got a lot of work to do. So you're welcome, folks. And that is, of course, the Norwegian League. So, Chris, take us through the Norwegian League, could you?
Yes, this is the Eliteserien Gateligaen. The Norwegian League, 10 teams in this league. So they play everybody home and away 5 times.
Okay.
For 45 games. They didn't have the playoff. The Stavanger Oilers, way out in front, won the league by 23 points last season. They won 39 and lost, 6 of their games. Yeah, really strong for the Oilers. They are, of course, in the Champions Hockey League. They're the only team from Norway to get into the Champions Hockey League, and they are coming up against Røgle from Danish League.
Oh, good luck.
Interesting. Sorry, not the Danish League. Who are they? Oh, the Swedish, isn't it?
Yeah, Røgle, yeah.
So they're coming up against there. So, tough one for them there. So elsewhere, we have we've got IF Friskokke. We've got Greener, Lillehammer, Kunlun Redstar, Narvik, Sparta Prague, the Stavanger Oilers, Stjarnen, Storhamar, and Vålerenga. So those are the teams in there. It doesn't look as though there's no promotion relegation out of here. Or there wasn't last season anyway. They obviously didn't hold the playoffs because of the pandemic. But yeah, this is another league where there's that big divide. So as I said, you've got Stavanger at the top, who won 39 out of 45. Okay. You've got Greener at the bottom, who won 5 out of 45.
I see. Fair enough.
Yeah, interesting one there. That's the Eliteserien Gatligaen.
The one thing
the Norwegian League.
Yeah, the Norwegian League. The one thing I will mention about the Norwegian League, though, is that they have the record for the longest NHL or longest ice hockey game ever recorded. I did a video on it on my YouTube channel a little while ago, but I think they went into 7th or 8th overtime, something like that.
I'm just going to pop onto Google Maps because this is another one like Dansk in the in the Polish league. Because would you like to know? So we have if you picture Norway, everyone is in kind of the bottom, I would argue, quarter, really. Don't forget Norway's kind of very long and thin.
Okay.
And the distance, would you want to know the distance between the northernmost team, which is Narvik,
okay, to
the second northernmost team, which is Lillehammer?
I'm going to go... What measurement are we using? We're using miles? Kilometers?
We can... it's kilometers is Google. So bearing in mind that when we were looking at the Polish league, Dansk was about 3.5 hours, wasn't it, to the next northernmost? Yeah. So you can do it in time.
I'll do it in time then. I'll do it in time. So the northernmost team, which is... Which one again, sorry?
It's Narvik and the northernmost
team. So Narvik and Lillehammer. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say the difference... The amount of time it would take to travel from one to the other is 6 hours.
Yeah, that's a bit short.
It's a bit short.
So this is by car, obviously.
Okay.
So is there can I do a route that doesn't involve a ferry?
That would be good.
So by car.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not entirely too sure where the ferry is. I must be honest on this route.
Fair enough.
So by car, the shortest route is 17 hours, 27 minutes.
Are you sure that's not from your house, Chris?
No. Oh, a distance of 1,229 kilometers.
Oh my God. Wow. Could you imagine making that journey and then having to play 8 overtimes in a playoff game?
Because Norway is obviously such a long and thin country.
Yeah.
That that just seems. I wonder how many fans they get.
Yikes!
Well, that says everything. Their arena only holds 1,000, so that kind of tells you everything you need.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. How far is it by flight? Then are we talking like 2 hours?
Let me have a look. If I change it to by plane, it won't let me do it by plane.
Oh. Apparently Norwegians don't have airplanes anymore.
I think that's just going to be a really awkward one because you've then got to obviously have an airport in wherever it is and all the
fair.
Rest of
okay.
It, so.
All right. Fair enough. Basically, it's a long-ass journey. That's all we need to know.
It seems to be that way. Yeah. But they're relatively new to the league. They came up. Maybe there is promotion relegation, but they didn't do it last year because they were promoted in 2018-19 after winning Norway 2.
Okay.
So I think they just didn't do promotion and relegation last year because it would have been a bit unfair.
Yeah, that's probably the reason then, to be honest, isn't it? So,
so they came up, but that's this long old travel for them to start the season off, and they are starting with an away game at Friskoske. They're starting an away game, and Friskoske are one of the most southerly teams, so that's interesting.
How far is it? Go on. You got to tell us.
Okay.
We got to complete this story arc. How far is their trip for their first game of the season? By car, obviously, or by team bus, for example.
I'm gonna have to do it by car team bus.
Yeah.
19 and a half hours, 1,400 kilometers.
I am so glad I'm not playing in the Norwegian League. Let's put it that way.
There must be some kind of airport near there for them to do it by that, because you can't do a 19 and a half hour journey every time you've got an away game.
Hopefully the Norwegians have discovered teleportation or something and just make it so much more ideal. But wishful thinking maybe. Maybe it's a case of
Narvik does have an airport.
Okay, or maybe it's a case of they just go and play a bunch of away games, and then all the other teams come and travel to them or something. We'll figure it out. I mean, they'll figure it out. It's not our problem. We just talk about the teams that are there. So let's move on from the leagues that we've talked about. There's 11 different leagues we have talked about in this episode. We've gone on for quite a while.
So, just very, very quick. So everybody who goes to Narvik, they play double headers, so you don't have to travel.
Fair enough.
You play back-to-back days in Narvik, so you aren't traveling there and back all the time.
That makes the most sense if you ask me. So anyways, that was the Norwegian League, I should say. Let's move on. But anyway, let's finish up this episode with some audience questions. Let's pick out one audience question because we have gone on for quite a long time. And let's pick this one.
I would go with... Oh, go on.
Oh, no. Which one were you thinking?
I was going to go with Not Quits because it's probably a shorter one and the other one requires a bit more detail.
Sure, I'll find it. Do you have the question there with you?
I can find the question easily enough, yeah.
Okay.
So...
Go for it.
While you're thinking about it, I know the first bit. He says, what is your biggest... what's the thing you like the most about going to games live?
Okay.
I'll get the full question up here.
I was checking the recent Twitter post we put up, but it's not on that one, is it? So I've gotten rid of that off the screen.
No, it's on a.
It's on our YouTube, isn't it?
Yes, it's a YouTube question.
I'll see if I can find it.
You can feel free to get questions into us on YouTube as well. It's on episode 4, I think, mate.
Yes, I'll have a look for you.
Yeah, there it is. So it's on. Yes. In your opinion, what's the best part of watching hockey games live versus watching them on TV? What are the crowds like in the British League? I'll answer that quickly. It's about 5,000 average, something like that in the British League. Some teams are different to others. What's the best part in your opinion in watching hockey games live versus watching them on TV?
So first of all, I couldn't get the comment up. My internet was being a little bit slow because obviously I'm zooming with you and there's other people zooming in the house. So, what's the best part? Now, I've got to be honest, I haven't watched a huge amount of hockey games in person because I'm so far away from the big hockey rinks and the elite league teams in the country. I'm down several hours. I mean, the Nottingham Panthers, for example, I live about 3.5 hours away from the Nottingham Panthers and about 3 hours away from Nottingham, about 3.5 hours away from Sheffield, for example. So it's a bit of it's a distance for me to be able to go there. So I haven't actually watched a live hockey game since 2018, I think, maybe 2019.
Yeah, because we were both meant to go to GB Canada, weren't we? And
yes, we were, but then obviously it didn't happen. So what's the best part about it? I think it's just kind of the whole experience, for me personally, it's it's a big day. It's not something you get to do very often. You're going to make this big trip up there to go and see it. You get excited because you're going to go and see a hockey game. It's all of the the thrills and the excitement. You know, it's all of the things that you don't realize that you miss when you haven't been for a while. It's like going and grabbing a bite to eat before the game. It's, sitting with people that either really enjoy the game, really enjoy the sport, like your best mates, or people that you like really care about when you're sharing something that you enjoy with those people, when they might not be the most interested in it, but they give it a chance because they know you enjoy it. And kind of like and I think just the fact of how quickly it goes when you're actually there. Like when you're actually in the arena, obviously you have the TV timeouts and everything when you're watching from home, but when you're actually there watching a hockey game and it's fast-paced action all the time, it just goes so quickly. And obviously the hits that you hear at the arena are much bigger than you'd hear them at home. The atmosphere when a team scores a goal or there's a penalty or there's a fight, it's just like you can't rival that being at home. Obviously, I've watched like 95% of the hockey games I've ever watched from the comfort of my own home, whether it be NHL games or games in this country, for example. But yeah, I think the fact that I don't do it so often makes it even more special for me, in the sense that it's such like an event that I can get really excited for, and then the weeks tick down. It's kind of like a Christmas. It's kind of like, it's like a big present. It's a big gift that somebody's given me, like tickets to a hockey game. So yeah, it's just kind of all the little intangibles, all the things that you don't realize, all of the things that don't get picked up by the TV, like the real atmosphere in the arena when a goal is scored by the home team, the kind of animosity when there's a fight going on and everybody yelling that the player needs to kill the other one. There's just a lot of there's stuff that you just can't replicate when you're watching a game in person. But yeah, what about you, Chris?
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm really fortunate that in my work I get to go to hockey games every week, every other week.
Lucky you.
I know, but I completely agree with everything you said. Like before I started working in hockey, it was very much the same. I mean, once I started a job and I could go more regularly, but it used to just be I went to one game a year and that was my birthday present, and that was the great thing about it. I obviously get to see the entirety of the event in terms of I turn up hour and a half early to the game and get set up. So obviously there's nobody in at that point. The players are playing football, warming up below where I sit. They're testing the music, the microphone. It's all deadly quiet. Then you have all the build up where the fans come in, the music's going, the teams come out. You've got the game itself. And then after the game, I head down to the dressing rooms. And by the time that I'm doing the post-match interviews, the arena is empty again, and the staff are there picking up the rubbish. The Zamboni's back out again, tidying the ice. I see the whole lot, and I think my favourite bit is, and always has been, like the 5-10 minutes before the start of the game, where the music really ramps up, and it's that heavy bass music when the whole floor vibrates.
Yeah,
and it's like that. But I just, again, like it's the speed, it's the noise, it's the best part of it is watching it live. The worst part is then going back to the office afterwards and having power cuts. And struggling to get the interview out. But I am very privileged with what I'm able to do. I definitely prefer obviously live to watching on TV. But it's such an incredible sport to be a part of, and to cover. And yeah, I think the best part of watching them live, I think because I'm a fan as well. So it's like you said, I'm there, but I'm celebrating the goals. I'm celebrating the the big hits, the things like that. That's really quite special for me. I find it difficult to watch on TV, partly because I have to keep retuning my TV to get free sports. That's a big part of it. But I do find it more difficult to watch it on TV than I do to watch it in real life. I find it more difficult to kind of keep my eye on it and stay attentive to it. Really, obviously, I can do it for preparation of commentary and stuff, but nothing beats watching it live.
Oh no, definitely not. And I think what you mentioned about you kind of see the whole process from start to finish very much reminds me of my days like in the performing arts and doing like live shows and stuff. It's very much like, oh, you're there like setting everything up like an hour or two beforehand, then all of the audience comes into the theatre, and then you'll obviously go and do the show, and then afterwards you'll see some of them afterwards and like, oh, well done, you were great. It's like, oh, thank you. You know, it's like it's very similar. Like hockey is very much like a performance in that sense, in every sense of the word, whether it's the on ice product or like everything outside. You know.
Yeah, I'm so used to like when you go normally and you're part of the crowd. Obviously, the game finishes and there's like, it takes you ages to get out the arena, doesn't it? Because everybody's trying to get out at once, and then you get back to the car and you sit in queues. Yeah. I leave the arena and I'm only 15 minutes or so behind everybody else, and you just walk straight out the arena, or the traffic's gone. It's really strange because you arrive long before everybody else, and it's dead. And then everybody comes in and goes, and then you leave again afterwards.
Yeah. And I really like the it's also like there's a sense of that like calm when you're in the arena by yourself, or like when there's like a handful of people in the arena. It's such a strange feeling, because obviously I had that when I came and did the commentary with you for one of the NIHL games as well. It's like it's the same as going into like a theatre when there's nobody there as well, and it's like
it's deadly quiet, isn't it? And you can just do whatever you want in this massive arena.
Yeah, and it's so chill because you never see like. The only time people ever go into a theatre is when it's packed with other people, when they're going to see something. And a hockey game, it's only when there's like 7,000 other fans in attendance. So when you're actually in there just like chilling out, like going about your business, getting the work done and stuff, it's really quite calming in a sense.
For anybody who wants to kind of get this experience, like contact your local team. You know, your junior team or your second division team, something like that, and just see if you can help out one night, because it gives you a completely different perspective on the whole game.
It really does.
And it's especially, like I would say, like when I do the post-match interviews, I'll do the interviews and then I've got to hang around waiting for them to be sent back to the studio. So you just get chatting to the other media people about the game, and it is really like enjoyable, but also slightly bizarre way of after having years of just going as a fan. All of a sudden you're chatting to the coaches and director of hockeys and players, and it's if you want to experience it, go to your local team, contact your team, see if they can accommodate you and see if you can help out in any way, because it is a lot of fun and you get free hockey.
Exactly. And I mean, in the position that I'm in, I wish that I could do that kind of thing, you know, because I'm just so far away that it's just not feasible.
It's just your location that's stopping you.
It really is. It really is. But yeah, anyway, that's a really good question. We've obviously talked about that for a lot. And we've been running for, this is probably going to be one of our longer episodes that we've
recorded. Yeah.
Considering that we had to talk about 11 different leagues and some other news that was released today, I think we've done a good job getting through it all in such a short span of time, but I don't think most people will complain having it slightly longer an episode. So on that note, I think it's time to end today's episode of the EuroPuck podcast. Thanks for joining us, guys. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you've enjoyed listening, whether it be the audio version or whether it be the video version here on YouTube. If you want to keep updated on all things EuroPuck podcast or European hockey, and if you want to send us your thoughts, opinions, or questions either from today's show or for our next show, which we'll be recording next week, you can follow us on Twitter at EuroPuck Podcast. That's at EuroPuck Podcast. Go and follow us. We're getting closer and closer to 500 followers on there. We're getting close to 500 subscribers on YouTube as well. So we've got a lot of people that seem to be listening to it, and I will not complain at all. If you enjoyed listening to either or both of your hosts today, though, of course, you've got the media man, Chris Gadsby. You've got the cheeky British guy, Hayden Oddman Rush over here. Then you can either follow myself on Twitter at OddmanRushYT or Chris at Chris_Gadsby. Thanks again for listening, guys, and we'll see you again next time. Have a good one, folks.
Bye, guys.